Everybody, let's get serious. Because it's League Online, I'm Eric, and that's Mark, and it's power ranking time, the final power rankings for the regular season in the 2019 summer split for all the major regions, not just North America. That's right, we are finally catching up. We'll start over in Europe where, there was some tiebreaker action, not nearly as many as people were expecting, and the regular season did not at all end how I would have expected.
No, I was expecting to maybe see a little bit more seriousness in this end towards this season here in the LEC, which was stupid of me to expect here.
Rookie mistake.
I always got to be expecting some for fun action going on here. This time it's traveled across the ocean and it's going on in the LEC this week.
Yeah, but in Europe they do for fun with a little bit of class, NA hasn't quite gotten to that point. The glacial
It's the clown
comps,
fiesta.
Yeah, but it's less clown and more fiesta, which is just a good old-fashioned fun time. But we're going 10-1 in EU, and there's some movement even at the bottom to close out the regular season. And yes, Excel was part of some of that for fun, but you still got to give Misfits some credit because they got to win against Splice. So they move up a spot. They finish in I hesitate to say respectable, but not last place.
Certainly not respectable for what I think Misfits fans would have expected again from this team. Yes, we knew that there was going to be a chance that it wouldn't exactly work out the way that we had wanted. We had seen signs of that obviously in spring. But to fall here again at 9, and even with the type of additions and rejigging of the roster that you're trying to do here,
a lot of different rosters
still feels like a disappointment for them. And even Excel here has been putting together some better results here in the past weeks, heading towards the end of this split here. But again, still not a good enough record. And when Misfits does end up beating one of our better teams here in Splice, got to give them that respect to bump up.
No idea what Misfits will look like in 2020. I think Han Sama will be there. Outside of that, I have no idea. Origen is obviously the biggest disappointment of the entire summer split, probably. Win and you're in. Win one of your 2 games in week 9. You're right there in playoffs. You can add to your spring split championship points. Instead, they go 0-2 against those 2 teams below them, down 3 spots, and I think deservedly so.
Oh, completely deservedly so. When you're looking at how that they get to this position here, the way that they weren't able to win games here down the stretch, and especially this past week here, where it's the games that you control your destiny here, especially against teams where you know that if you beat them, you're ruining their chances here of getting into the playoffs, increasing your own. And Origen not able to muster through, not able to get it done in the clutch time when they needed it here. And that is simply not good enough here from a squad that we saw was able to reach the heights of making it to the finals last split.
And we were just waiting the entire split for them to turn it on, to return to that spring split form that we saw them the last 4 weeks and through playoffs. Never got there, and surprising from such a veteran squad. The other tiebreaker was Vitality versus SK. Vitality, they won that tiebreaker, so I think you've got to put them ahead of SK heading into the playoffs. But I mean, they were slumping big time coming into this matchup, waiting until the absolute final hour to even qualify and get into playoffs. But they did get it done where Origen didn't.
Certainly, they did, and they have booked that ticket, and that's where, again, you give them that credit of getting the job done when you needed to. And hey, you got to be able to, if you're going to get onto Origen's backs here about them not getting it, you got to give your credit over here to the Vitality squad getting it done. But I still haven't seen...
Just took a 4-game losing streak, too.
Right, exactly. Still haven't seen any type of consistency in this Vitality lineup, let alone the performances from the most part from the players that you need to be getting these performances from. Hey man, you had Attila talking some smack even this week, getting ready towards these playoffs now that the squad's in it. That's not exactly the player or performances here willing, I would say, to give up those type of smack talk performances. And I think that, hey, you got to be hoping that you're going to be backing it up here heading towards playoffs.
Yeah, I have zero confidence in Vitality in playoffs. The top 5 in Europe, I got a little bit more faith in. Even someone like Rogue, who climbed up this week, they got that big win against Origen, looked much better here in the second half of the split. They'll still be big underdogs against Splice, but they are on the up and up. And who knows what Inspired and Larson, a couple of rookie guys, can put forward against them. Schalke has basically been the 4th best team in EU since week 2, basically. We've been talking about them in that top 4.
Yeah, and I think that the important thing with Schalke, though, to remember is, yes, they are easily top 4, top 5 in Europe. That is a very defined position here for this squad, but it's important to remember we've seen them go up against the teams that are above them here in this rankings, and there does seem to be that slight disconnect still between, I would say, Splice in 3rd and Schalke at number 4 here. Given the way that they've played, I still would have them outside of kind of that elite 3 here of the LEC.
And Splice had a rough weekend. They went 0-2. Obviously, that head-to-head match for Fnatic was the biggest of the weekend, and they've been jockeying for that 2-3 spot throughout the majority of the split. Obviously, Fnatic, big 2-0 win this weekend to kind of clinch that bye and I think fully cement themselves as that second best team here heading into playoffs. But man, this game was exciting, and it was a fiesta, but not necessarily in the bad way. A fiesta to me is just crazy team fights, and we had that, but no clown. There's no clown.
No clown in this fiesta. This was absolutely one of those ones that you're watching, and you can tell it's just both teams giving it their best opportunity here. Everyone's got that skill. Everyone's got that 200 IQ brain, and you're seeing plays pop off consecutively here for both sides, and it's just a matter of who's the last one to get that last hit there coming out on top. And this time, it's the Fnatic squad getting that edge, and they kept it going on through here to get themselves that bye in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think Fnatic also kind of showcasing that people kind of critique them. They don't have many play styles. They're pretty one-dimensional. Well, if you can play Urgot and, oh my god, Reckless can play AD carries? It's almost like he hasn't done that for 7 years in the pro scene.
Yeah, I was kind of laughing myself as the casters were losing themselves over Reckless playing Kaisa again. And I'm like, man, like, his skill has not gone away on these marksman champions. He's still Reckless here.
Thousands and thousands of games.
Still got to be the face of the franchise here for Fnatic, and he still is the one carrying them with that strength down on the bottom side.
And believe it or not, G2 eSports come in at number 1 on the list. Yet again, I mean, there was the 1 week where Fnatic took them down and they bumped over them, but I mean, listen, you couldn't really take anything from this week 9. I don't think G2's taking it too seriously when they're playing rock, paper, scissors for who gets to play.
You don't think that that's how they're going to be breaking down who's going to be playing what into Con at Worlds? That's how it's going.
I'll tell you what, you go up against this and they roll swap like this in an actual game, I'd be thrown for a loop if I'm playing against Mickey's Gragas in the mid lane. So maybe it's a legit strategy.
Goodness.
It's not at all. It was a very fun game. Caps and Perks have been doing in the bottom lane a lot. These guys were going to do a 24-hour stream before the day they play in the LEC. They ended up punking out. But.
That's just how much fun is going on here in the LEC, and especially, again, with G2. And, I mean, you know, I've seen some people get upset and be like, man, how can they do this? This is just disgusting to the competitive integrity of League of Legends and things
Game
like
meant
that.
nothing for Excel, too.
Game meant nothing for Excel, too. These guys are so skilled and so much fun to watch here. Come on, just turn that frown upside down. Enjoy these games here. This is the LEC, and you're watching one of the world's best, if not the world's best team in G2, put on a show.
They are stuck in at number 1 in the LEC.